Good afternoon. My name is Paz Simpson, the happiness engineer, and I'm here with my co host, Mr. Paul Hoyt, my co brother in smile. And together we come and every Wednesday try to work together for curing racism, where we discuss some of the commonly accepted beliefs that lead to your behavioral reflex bias. This week, we have a pretty unique topic, I think. What happens in the tribe when the leaders tribe may not be selected from the tribe, may not have been elevated from the tribe, and their status has been seen outside of the tribe. So, what we're talking about may be socioeconomic, right? That may be someone chosen and they have been enriched, they have been given wealth from outside of their normal community or what some may think community is. It may be someone who may have found themselves rising in the political rank. It may be someone who's been given a job status that may have come by whatever means necessary. So we are going to be talking about that. But before we get good afternoon, Paul.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for joining us again.
Always a pleasure to do these with you on Wednesday and do what we can to share a little
Yeah,
light, a little wisdom in the world.
yes. And we had a very in-depth discussion on Monday, which has led to this conversation of what happens when others see a person as being leadership, right? Versus the community seeing them or their actual tribe seeing them as leadership. We've seen this happen many times in the black community. They it used to be where they would select one person. Uh, he may be a Supreme Court justice, like a Clarence Thomas, you know, where they would elevate one person, and that one person would allow them to keep all the rest of them in line.
Yeah.
You know, they call them, depending on how you see it, they'll call them the HNIC. Some use it in the more derogatory word of the N word, but more the head Negro in charge, right? That one person, Clarence Thomas, is a perfect example of such things, right? Being elevated to the Supreme Court, but he does not identify with those who look like him.
Amen.
You know, he's made decisions that truly hurt those who look like him, you know. And then if you go back to the January 6th situation, right, he even hid things, you know, supporting his wife, to people that look like him. So he hurt. So there are many times where we see leadership chosen from outside the community that does not always reflect, right, the ideals, the morals, the understandings of those tribes.
Amen.
In those cases, right, we find a lot of rejection within while there's exception or acceptance without.
So we always have to pay attention to where a person's loyalty lies and where their true allegiance lies. Is there true allegiance to other members of the tribe and to the tribe as a whole? Or are they being propped up by people outside the tribe so that their loyalty and their allegiance actually remains with people who don't belong to that particular tribe? We see that a lot in politics, of course. We see that with lobbyists. We see that with people who are in elected office, where their loyalties lie consciously or subconsciously to those people who are contributing the most to their campaigns, whether it be big pharma or defense industry or some other industry that's contributing to the campaign for a representative or a senator or a president. You got to watch out for that stuff, and we see this periodically, like Paz and I have noticed, is that when a tribe uh, is infiltrated with by somebody who looks like they're a member of that tribe physically, may even talk like a member of that tribe, but their allegiance, their true loyalty is not to the tribe at all. Rather, it's to somebody that's contributing to their own retirement account.
And it's so ironic that there have been movies, movements that have talked about these infiltrations, across, especially across the black community.
Mm.
There was a really famous, a really big movie that Netflix put out about the infiltration of the Black Panther Party, a few years back. Um, because the greatest way to destroy something isn't outside. The biggest destruction is not an explosion, but an implosion, right? The atomic bomb is not an explosion; it is an implosion. It implodes first, and all of everything else after. So you start to see this also in many of our communities, right? It's an implosion first. There's someone that's set in, to create havoc, right? To create confusion, right? Before the destruction happens, right? Before we lost Malcolm X, there was some confusion. Before you lost Martin Luther King, there was some confusion, right? The Black Panther Party, in all of its luster, was really run by young men and women under the age of 25. You know, these were all college students, college educated people, who had had enough. But when you listen to the stories, that's not how they're described, right? You wouldn't know that most of these young men, Bobby Seale, all of these big names, were younger than my children
Mm.
when they were at the height of their fame, when they're at the height of their influence, right? And this is prior to a social media. We and this is important, I think, is how communities are divided through these situations, right? You'll see that many people, God rest his soul, still have bad feelings about Jesse Jackson. There's the people who think that Jesse was the greatest leader and did so much from the since the death of Martin Luther King. And then there are people who think Jesse walked them outside.
Mm. I haven't heard that
So
before.
there are two different uh,
Yeah.
there
Wow.
are two different facts, and I think when we think about what is a tribe, like what actually bonds us together, if we make those bonds bigger than just a hue of color and a neighborhood that we live in, right? It will be harder to infiltrate based in love.
Yeah, and I think the big lesson here is that you each and every one of us need to need to really understand the motives and the loyalties of the leaders of our tribes. You know, are they really out for themselves, or are they out for the tribe? Are they enriching themselves, or are they enriching the members of the tribe? You know, are they advocating positions that benefit the tribe, or are they advocating positions that, you know, somehow, you know, disparage the tribe, or, you know, take away from the assets, the value, the camaraderie of the tribe? We see that all too often in politics. We see that in many other environments as well. So true leaders, you know, true leaders, leaders who care about the people in their tribe, who care about the tribe itself, you know, you can tell who they are because they talk about bringing benefit to each and every member of the tribe. They look forward 7 generations to the tribe. They're not out to enrich themselves. They're out to, you know, support those who need to be supported in the tribe, to give people the financial assistance, the education, the hands up that they need in order to make the entire tribe stronger, not just today, but for generations to come. So if we just learn to ask ourselves the questions about, you know, well, what are the motives? What are the inspiration? What are the loyalties, you know, of the leaders of the tribe? I think we are in a much better position to avoid having leaders that are really not in the best interest of our particular group.
I agree. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Understanding who is leading, why they're leading, and where they're leading us. Say that for you again. Understanding who is leading, why they are leading, and where are they leading us. Because they could have all of the charismatic personality. They could have all of the good looks, and they could be leading you like Hitler,
Yeah,
right? So not only because for at first, if you were a blonde-eyed, blue-eyed, blonde-haired person, everything Hitler said at first may not have been bad. But where are they leading us? Right?
yeah,
So not only who is leading us, not only why are they leading us, but where are they leading us? Are they leading us to division, separation? Are they leading us to us feeling superior to others? Because if we're above here, that means we're looking down on others. And the only time we should be looking down is if we're looking to lift someone up.
amen to
So,
that.
you know, understanding where they are leading us. Because I think a lot of times it can have a good leader, but we haven't asked where we're going, so they could be driving us off a cliff. So understanding that where we're going is so, so important because who and why, because they could be the greatest person and their motives could be amazing, but they're leading us to a dark path because of their own trauma, because of their own history, right? I hate all white people because my mom was raped by a white person. You know, that can and you didn't know that, but they checked all of the other boxes for great leadership. Or I hate black people, right? Because, when my mama dated a black man and he left her before she got with my daddy. You know, we don't know what underlying things. So it's always asking that question, not just who and why, but where. Where are we going? Where are we going and why are we going there? If it doesn't feel like love, if it doesn't sound like love, it may be time to retreat.
Yeah, it's probably not love.
Yes. We are seeing now more conflict, especially under this current regime of leadership that we're seeing more and more tribal conflict, not just inside our country, but also outside of our country. We've been more willing to attack and be a part of the attack. And it's also led us open to attack. You know, when you, one of the things they say is you point, when you point at others and you see the pointing, right, four fingers point back at and we've been pointing at others for a long time, instead of allowing ourselves to just be accountable.
Amen.
And accountability starts with us, right? Each and every one of us. Why am I following that leader? And where's that leader taking me? And if that leader is not taking you to where you want to be, if that leader is not leading you to whom you want to be, then you need to ask more questions.
And you can always tell when a leader is, I think out for themselves as opposed to the tribe, because one of the things that really makes a tribe prosper is peaceful relationships within the tribe and with other tribes as well, cooperative relationships, collaborative relationships.
Mhm.
So great leaders will embrace what one of our curing racism axioms is, which is when we learn to see through the superficial differences that divide us, we will discover the common values that unite us. And whenever you seek collaboration, whenever you seek, cooperation, one of the first steps that you can take to really facilitate that process is that discovery and that discussion of those common values. We care about our families. We care about the planet. We care about our children. We care about the society, the climate, and talk about those things that we value the most and discover those common values, so then you can collaborate and cooperate when it comes to setting a direction that is to the benefit of everyone.
And I got to keep clapping because you're preaching to the choir. Let's go. You know, Collaboration. Um, God rest his soul, Bernie Dorman,
Mm,
um, who I still consider was a great mentor to me. Used to always preach of the power of collaboration, right? Collaboration doesn't mean, right, that we always have to agree. It just means we have to agree to be able to work together,
yeah,
right? There are things that we may fundamentally see different, but if I can work with you for the greater good, I can learn from you and about you, right? Through your work, because your skin color doesn't make you your work, right? The people you hang out with doesn't make you your benefits. The things that you talk about doesn't make you productive. But if you are actually any of those things, productive, beneficial, you know, a a great part to this society, there's always a space for you, right? And there's always someone looking to shine a light.
love it. And if you're listening to this podcast, if you know of anyone, any organization, any groups, any companies that you think might benefit from a conversation about curing racism, about tribal, kindly let us know. We'll be happy to have a conversation about that. Are we wrapping for the day, Paz?
What we're doing here, coming together, one conversation, one connection, one heart at a time to make a difference. If you want to increase the productivity within your company by getting rid of some of the commonly accepted biases. If you want to make sure that your team is working at an optimum level, please go to curingracism.com, reach out to me or Paul, or if not, the both of us. Get a copy of the book so you can get some greater understanding. And you know what? We've been doing this podcast for a few weeks. It's a surprise, but you can go back and watch any of the old conversations that we've had so that you also can benefit from what we're doing here together. But curing racism can't happen with just me and Paul. It takes each and every one of you, each and every one of you listeners, each and every one of you who restream and reshare, each and every one of you who tells a friend to tell a friend that we are here because together we can achieve more.
Awesome. Great to talk to you as always, Paz.
Yes. And it's always a pleasure of mine. And remember, right, when asking who is our leader, we need to know who is leading, why they're leading, and where are they leading us to. If for any reason those questions are questionable, take the time to pause and, if need be, retreat because the world needs people who are willing to stand for something so that we can move forward. Paul, I'll leave the last words to you, my brother.
Well, just share a little love and light with you and with everybody listening to the podcast. Remember that love's the most powerful force in the world. Take a few minutes every single day to remind yourselves of who you love and why you love them, and the world will be a better place. Love you, Paz.